Now we're going to get down to the nitty-gritty of what Indians are all about.
I still say we Indian people are believers in the truth. This is the way of life that was given to your people. You're born an Indian, you're going to die an Indian. Indianness is a good life. You're facing an Indian this afternoon.
This week on Muskogee Vision, we spoke with Gilcrease art curator Laura Fry about a new grant awarded to the museum. We have updates about the election and the Free Press Amendment legislation. And MCN veteran and elder Herbert Dontilly speaks with us about his Korean War experience. All that after the break, and thanks for watching Muskogee Vision.
Welcome to Muskogee Vote. Let's begin. Today's category is Ready to Vote. What are Muskogee Creek citizens eligible to do when they reach 18?
Register to vote.
Correct. What step will allow citizens to actively participate in the Muskogee Creek Nation?
Register to vote.
Correct. If you are a Muskogee Creek citizen, age 18 or above, please register online or call for more information. And thank you for watching Muskogee Vote.
What I love the most is to teach, because someone taught me. Our Creek people are so talented, but you would never know it if not for places like the Red Stick Gallery. The art world can be intimidating, but the Red Stick Gallery comes alongside of their artists and is a steady outlet for us. True art is sharing yourself. The Red Stick Gallery helps me do that.
In downtown Okmulgee.
Gilcrease Museum was founded here in Tulsa in 1949, and our founder was Thomas Gilcrease. And he was enrolled Muskogee Creek Nation, and in the early 1900s, as a result of the Dawes Act, he was given an individual land allotment, and it just so happened that that land allotment was in Glenpool at the first major site of oil discovery in Oklahoma. So he became very wealthy by the time he was about 20 years old. And as he traveled, as he got to see more of the world, he saw some of the museums in Europe, and he decided that he wanted to create a museum, but for the Americas and around the art, history, and culture of the North American continent and some South American as well. So he really put almost all of his wealth into building a museum collection to share with the public. And given his heritage, Mr. Gilcrease was especially interested in Native American history and culture, and he even employed some Native artists early in the museum's history to select works to purchase and act as curators here at Gilcrease. So we have this extraordinary collection that includes archaeology and anthropology, paintings and sculpture, and library and archives that covers a 13,000-year span of time from the North American continent. So it was about 2 years ago now, we started conversations with representatives from the Henry Luce Foundation, and that's an organization that funds American art projects at museums and cultural organizations all around the country. And we proposed a couple areas of the Gilcrease collection to them that have really been underutilized. Like many museums, we only have about 5% of our collection on view. And what this grant will enable us to do is to bring new research and photography and access to some of that 95% that is in storage. So we specifically focused on two areas. Our collection of work by Thomas Moran and his wife, Mary Nemo Moran, a noted American artist from the late 19th century. And the other project is looking at Native American painting traditions in the Gilcrease collection over a broad time span, really looking at the last 150 years from hide paintings, muslin paintings, ledger art, to artists in 20th century from the Kiowa Six all the way up through contemporary artists working today. And we're looking to see how traditions have really evolved over time, but also how artists working now might be responding to work from the past. And in both cases, these collections are largely works on paper, so they're fairly delicate, they're susceptible to fading, so they're not works that we can display for long periods of time. So by doing new photography of these collections and making them available online, doing new research into some of these artists and making that available to the public as well. We're hoping to, create a resource that's based around Gilcrease collection that anybody can access, whether they're here in the building or remotely. The grant's really looking at works that are already part of the Gilcrease collection, but that haven't really been a key focus for our exhibitions or publications in the past. So they're works that we've had for quite a while, but haven't had a chance to properly research. So the earliest works that are under this grant are hide paintings from the Northern Plains that are really spectacular, and they show that painting has been part of Great Plains cultures for a long, long time, long before Europeans ever arrived in the Americas. Hide painting has been a tradition in the Great Plains for centuries, and a couple of the hides in the Gilcrease collection are buffalo hides, which was also deerskin is sometimes used, buckskin. Later in the 19th century, as the bison numbers dwindled, cowhide might also be used. And then cloth was used too, so muslin and cloth once that became more available in the 19th century. So we have I think examples of several of those here in the Gilcrease collection. Certainly a lot of these artists were interested in portraying the daily life that they observed around them. So we have a lot of images that show, just scenes from around a household or preparing food, hunting, even ceremonies or dances, or simply a parent teaching a child a very small task. So these really beautiful glimpses of everyday life or of special events as they're happening. But really, the variety is infinite. I mean, it's really limited only by the artist's creativity. So we'll see some really amazing works here. And we're looking forward to learning more about this collection and to having some new discoveries as we go through this project. What this grant really funds is new positions for Gilcrease Museum to conduct some of this work. So among the positions we're hiring are 2 curatorial scholars. So we'll be seeking a curatorial scholar with a background in Native American art who can research the span of these objects and look at artist biographies. Do we know who created a certain piece? What was their story? Can we actually write that down? A lot of these artist biographies are unpublished. And in some cases, these scholars may be reaching out to family or to descendants of the artists to learn more about them. And so for something like the hide paintings, it might be, can we identify who created this piece? Are there other works in private collections or museum collections that might give us some clues? And for some of the more recent works, it's going to be tracking down who some of these artists were, really sharing their life stories and really celebrating their work, especially for many of these artists who are largely unpublished. So the grant totals $890,000, and that will fund up to 6 new positions for both research and collections care. So while we have curatorial scholars researching these artists, researching the artworks, we'll also have some folks working on photographing the work. So we have new high-resolution images that we can share. We'll have some people doing cataloging, getting all of that information recorded so we can share it online. We'll also have conservators working on these collections to make repairs, rehouse them, make sure that we're doing our best to preserve this artwork long term so it's there for future generations. We'll be starting this work in 2020, and it's a 3-year grant, so this will be ongoing over the next couple years. We will certainly have some of these works available online and some of this information published online, hopefully even before the end of that 3-year period. And then Gilcrease is also working right now on plans for a building renovation and expansion. And we are hoping to have some of these works newly available, probably for the first time, when our building opens in 2023 or 2024. Over that 3-year period, that's really, we knew it would take a while to do some of these projects. I mean, we're going through thousands of artworks and really doing research and new photography. So the funding will come in a couple of batches, but it funds then the salaries for those positions over that time. So we will be posting some of these positions pretty soon. So we'll be looking for curatorial scholars to hire for both of these areas. And so if you know any young scholars out there who might be looking for some museum experience, we'll be advertising the positions here before the end of the year. There's hundreds of Native artists represented in the Gilcrease collection, and some of the most prominent ones include Woody Crumbo, and he was a good friend of Mr. Gilcrease, helped introduce him to many other artists, and he was even part of an artist in residency here with Gilcrease Museum in the 1950s. So we have this really incredible collection of Woody Crumbo's work, his printmaking, drawings, and paintings. We also have a work by A.C. Blue Eagle, who's another noted artist from the mid-20th century here in Oklahoma. Willard Stone, who's a Cherokee descendant. His wood carving is really inspired by Art Deco design and combines really ideas about contemporary politics with artwork. We've got great representative samples from the Kiowa Six. And also we have some works by contemporary artists living and working today. Artists like Norman Akers, who's a Pawnee and Osage, and he's a professor at University of Kansas. We've got works by Frank Buffalo Hyde, by Earl Biss, T.C. Cannon. And it's great to see how these works have evolved over time. We brought a piece out by Woody Crumbo to share today, and this piece is one of more than 1,000 works of art that are part of a new grant that Gilcrease recently received from the Henry Luce Foundation. And we'll be able to digitize and really bring new research and resources to this collection. This particular piece by Woody Crumbo is a blue horse. It's kind of a signature style. It's a gouache on paper and highlights, I think, Crumbo's whimsical approach to portraying animals. He's often using colors that are not, accurate to nature, but really capturing some of the emotion and the feeling of portraying animals in his work in these really wonderful ways. I think one of the things we're really excited for here is to show how some of these painting traditions are part of Oklahoma's history, because Oklahoma is a place where so many tribes were removed to, and from all over the country. Many artists from many different backgrounds and heritages that were then based in Oklahoma were inspired by one another. So you see this really interesting intertribal influence happening here among the arts community, and this grant will give us an opportunity to really explore how people in Oklahoma came together and how that's represented in artwork.
Principal Chief candidate and Speaker of the National Council, Lucian Tiger, has filed a petition for fraud or irregularities in the 2019 Principal Chief election. The petition challenges the announced results of the absentee ballots and also alleges several instances of fraud and irregularities, such as the absentee ballot scanning machine not properly working, resulting in a 2-hour delay in counting the votes, multiple ballots allegedly being cut in half by the electronic envelope opener, which may have resulted in them not being counted, inadequate measures taken to ensure that voters could not cast both an absentee ballot and a precinct ballot, George Tiger being on the ballot after he had pled guilty to a felony. The petition alleges that candidate Bruner influenced absentee voters by using the MCN seal in his campaign literature and bribed voters with meals and OU tickets. The petition also alleges that candidate Bruner improperly solicited and collected absentee ballots on behalf of voters and intimidated employees directly by mailing them correspondence assuring them they should feel safe. This petition has been scheduled for a hearing in the MCN District Court on October 4th, 2019 at 9 a.m. In addition to the petition for fraud and irregularities filed with the MCN District Court, candidate Tiger has also filed a petition requesting a recount of the Principal Chief election absentee ballots with the MCN Supreme Court. As a result of the challenges filed by Lucian Tiger in the Muskogee Creek Nation primary election, the MCN Supreme Court has reached a decision to nullify the results of the 2019 primary. According to a press release from the Muskogee Creek Nation, the election board plans to file a motion to reconsider, but if the Supreme Court does not reverse its decision, a new election will be held in 60 days. Muskogee media will continue to update this developing story. The Muskogee Creek Nation Supreme Court has issued its order and opinion in regards to the petition for the election recount. Citizens can view this document by going to creeksupremecourt.com and clicking on Orders and Opinions. The opinion states that in the process of conducting the election, ballot boxes are sealed with red tape, with a corresponding serial number on each strip of tape. The election board logs these numbers to ensure that once sealed, the boxes are not opened or tampered with. In the process of conducting the recount, one of the absentee ballot boxes was found to be sealed with tape that had not had its serial number logged. When this box was unsealed, 2 broken pieces of sealing tape were found inside, indicating that the box had been sealed, then that seal had been broken and the box resealed. The election board could not account for the box being opened and resealed. This led to the Supreme Court ordering that the primary election be deemed null and void, and that the election board schedule a new primary election for all offices to take place within 60 days. In addition, the court ordered that all money paid for the recount by Lucian Tiger be refunded. The court declined to order an independent investigation, as it did not find specific evidence of tampering in the election. Muskogee Media will continue to update this developing story.
Saturday, September 28th, at the National Council regular session, legislation to allow the citizens to vote on a constitutional amendment for free press failed to get the required votes to place the question on the ballot. In order for citizens to vote on the amendment on the November 2nd ballot, the legislation needed 2/3 of the National Council to vote yes. Pete Beaver, Joyce Deere, Johnny Green, James Jennings, Adam Jones, and Darrell Proctor voted no on the ordinance. With only 9 of the required 11 yes votes, the legislation did not pass, and citizens will not see the amendment question on the ballot.
We just had our day, I guess, what you'd call it, you know, our training area and people that we worked with, and we just got in there to win. You know, it takes about 7 days to get over there all together, you know what I mean? But that was an experience too. I mean, just riding, you know, and nothing but water every day. See the same. I mean, you're just riding there on the ocean, you know, nothing but water. But you get tired of it, you know, after a while.
You didn't get seasick?
Well, yeah, I did. I don't think there's nobody that didn't. There was a 57 recoilless weapon that when it fired, it had a back thrust. You had to stand out of the way about 30 feet, or it would pick up stuff off of the like little rocks and stuff and throw them back, you know. I mean, it was dangerous to be. The back thrust was, you got where you'd run from that. I mean, you'd just find a place, you know, where you could, everybody, I mean, would get down low, you know, when you shot it. But it had a back thrust and it would just like blow gravel and whatever was in the way, you know. But it was a powerful shell, about that big around, about 4 inches, I guess. You know, when it come out, you know, it made a mess, you know. But the ones that was trying to come over, you know, I guess they just sent out like 5 or 6 people, you know, and soldiers, and let them, you know, give us a outlook on what was going on. But they'd have these bombers come by and help out now and then, and different things, you know. We learned to we learned how to operate it the best, you know, that there was, you know, I mean, best we could, you know, and the scattering the enemy or bringing them under control, you know. And so we had a good relationship with the guys we worked with, you know, and worked together on that stuff, you know. And we just had I was glad to get out when I
You mean you didn't want to go back for a vacation?
No, I didn't want to. I had enough of that, but it was something. I mean, we had our good days and bad days, and they told me it was my time to burn the dump, and I thought
it was a demolition dump. No, at all.
That told it my time to burn the dump. So I took and headed for the dump to burn it. Of course, there's a gasoline tank, you know, a big gasoline tank sitting on where they had it braced up. So I took and bucket and drained me out what I thought was make a good fire, you know. I thought I would, you know, since it was a pretty good sized dump, I thought I would, you know, burn it pretty good, you know. So I put that gas all over the top of it. I mean, just sprinkled it around. Then I got way back over the dam and wet me a stick with gasoline and got it afire and throwed it over the dam. And boy, I tell you, them cans and different things and everything went up like an umbrella. And coming down, you'd hear plank, 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 plank. And some of the guys, you know, come out of their bunks, come around to see what was going on, you know, that they'd never heard nothing like that, I guess. I thought since I was going to build a fire, I might as well to have a good one. But I didn't know I had that much gas on it, you know. I mean, I didn't know it would make it, you know, that much of a explosion, you know. But it just, you know, gasoline, you know, just. But there was some tents, you know, all off to the, well, whatever, about sleeping tents was out there a ways, you know, but it didn't hurt none of the tents, you know. So I was thankful for that. But anyway, we had our times, you know, and we just done the best that we could as far as defeating the enemy, you know, or teaching others, you know, how to handle their weapons and different things. And yeah, just don't be afraid. Yeah, you can't hardly be afraid. You can't hardly afford not to be afraid sometimes, but you got to get in there and do what you know's got to be done. Oh, it was good to be out. It was good to see people that you know that you hadn't seen in a long time. To get to come together and, you know, and fellowship and stuff like that, you know, just to experience all in itself, you know, is to come and visit neighbors and different things you hadn't seen in a long time. Like the radio announcer said, I kept the faith. And that's what in the service, you just keep the Lord before you and the things that you do, and let Him guide and uplift you, and put your faith in Him, you know. So He'll take you through. I mean, when everything else fails, seems like He's always there. But to lose contact with the Lord is, something else. You don't want to do that. Especially if you're in battle, you know. But it seemed like I relied on Him the most. That's what I tried to do, is hold on to the faith that I had in Jesus.
Thanks for watching Muskogee Vision. We leave you this week with the sights and sounds of the Hope Walk. The Hope Walk is an event put on by MCN Behavioral Health to highlight suicide awareness. And once again, thanks for watching Muskogee Vision.
People can't hug you like that.
And we're out of the blue right now for being a supporter. If you wanted to take any, or if not, that's okay. And then we've got different departments with their resource booths set up. And then at the end,
2 minutes. Are you gonna? Yep. Good. Where's your casual stuff?
Oh, well, this is casual. I mean, I didn't have my jacket on here. My wife's gonna show me.
I would say I would.
Okay.
You can probably get it through there.
Are you gonna walk?
yes.
You might want to put bug spray on. Because the
Why?
mosquitoes are
Mosquitoes are
pretty
out there.
bad.
Over there?
Yeah.
You can blow them out. Turn it on. Yes. That's a little bit more.
But our service area, as I noted, it has changed. So maybe if you do want to refer anyone to our program and they don't fit what's tight, just go ahead and send them to us, and we can see if they qualify or not. It's just something we haven't updated yet. Thank you. Have a good day.
How's it going? Doing all right.
All right, ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right, thank you.